It is now.
Hey,
Woo! Hello, everyone. So I'm here with a good friend and colleague from across the pond. We started talking. Boy, how so every Friday we'd have a quick chat, or Friday. Every week we'd have a quick chat, right, and talk about AI. So we've been doing. How long have we been doing this? Seriously, how
I
long
think
have
about
we?
6 months. I think
Oh
we've
my
been,
gosh!
yes. And the interesting thing is that it is just the best part of my week having a conversation with you, Greg. So I wanted to put that out there right now. And our conversation is always so wonderful and really inhabits everything AI that I want to. And so that's why I'm so grateful that we're doing this podcast together.
Perfect. Now I can. I mean, those like-minded for sure. Exactly the same way I feel. It's and this isn't. So I know you and I. We both belong to a lot of different groups, right? And I've got guys who sell copiers, people who do AI, all that stuff. And you're all over the place as well. But and it's easy to get scattered and thrown into a million directions. And that's really what I want to do. But what this sessions have been almost, let's call it therapy, is a grounding, which is kind of weird because we talk about stuff that is not ground. It's like
No,
out
no.
there. But
Yeah,
it for me
we're
is like,
definitely out there. Yes.
it's like, okay,
Mhm.
good. And to be honest, to be real honest, it's like, okay, there's someone else out there, right, who isn't like I don't have to. They're not in another world. Give me the what did you just say? Look, although we do that too. So for me, it's grounding, which is crazy, but it's affirming, reaffirming that
Mhm.
yeah, okay. But I swear we'll talk about something and it'll be up in the news the next week, the next hour, the weekend. The way
Absolutely.
things go is just
100%.
crazy.
Yeah.
And we talk about artificial intelligence and the chat GTP is really what kicked that into gear for me and I think for you too, and for everyone in the world. And then we get to talk about everything in the world. So you're in England, Great Britain, and I know
Yes,
you
I
told me
am.
where
Yes,
where
I
are
am.
you exactly relative to because us Americans we know where London is, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
I'm in a little space in the northeast of England called South Shields. Actually, it's called South Tyneside, and it is a little seaside town. And it is what I call home now, and I absolutely love it here. And I'm so grateful that I get to inhabit this space
That's cool.
during what is going on with AI. And I just want to add to that. Our conversations are really meaningful. And I really think that people can benefit from hearing what we have to say because what I'm hearing in the AI conversation right now is very watered down, and people
Mhm.
are not really understanding how impactful and completely comprehensive AI is going to be for everybody. So the
Mm.
hope is that, so my background is 100% AI now. For the last 2 years, I have become completely AI focused. I have devoted myself to everything AI. I have several AI projects going on. I actually was in the NVIDIA conference last month,
Mhm.
getting to understand what is coming down the pipeline. And yeah, woo baby, that's a lot. And then I just feel as though this is an opportunity for us to hopefully, my main purpose about doing this podcast is about bringing people in, hopefully inspiring them enough that they start using these tools and start understanding that these tools are about empowering us, not about enabling us. And then maybe
Ooh,
we'll,
that's a good one.
and I say maybe, but I think most people who know me will say definitely. Some of the stuff that I'm going to say is kind of scary, but that is it, right? Life is about overcoming your fears. So let's have the discussions. Let's talk about the stuff that really, really is important in this area. Hopefully, we'll get questions from the audience.
Mhm.
Hopefully, we'll get some input. We'll be able to bring in some people to have conversations with us. And we'll make this a platform that just allows you to go hard into the world of AI. And that's it. That's what we do every Friday. We go
It
hard
is.
and then we go home.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And right, to be fair, this is what 11 o'clock my time ish in the states. By the way, I'm up in Michigan, Detroit, just outside Detroit. We had a big thing last night, or it's going on right now. The NFL draft, the football draft, big
Yes.
deal.
Yes.
It's actually pretty cool. Um, but I don't know where I was going with that. But I would mirror what you're saying, and only add, you know this. It's like so I've been part of movements before. I think we both technological movements since the late 80s, right?
Hmm.
From the mainframe to the PC, Novell networks to the internet, blah, 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 all that stuff. And I have to admit, I've been usually, and this is not a brag, but it's like, okay, I can see where the internet and cable TV and all these things and typing and word processing and all that should combine into one thing. I didn't know what it was back then. One thing, right? And it ended up being that way. Um, and then as time went by, and I think this is what's really cool about AI, and I had a situation occur just this morning. Um, Everything starts to collude and converge. All the media, and then what happens is we get our not our grubby little fingers, but we humans start throwing processes and old school mentality to these things, fitting this whole new stuff, whatever it is, into a model. And I'm not criticizing because that's the way it has been, right?
Yeah.
We see something new. Okay, wow, it's an assembly line. I can,
Yeah.
instead of it taking me 3 days to make a car, it'll only take me one. Or then all
Yeah.
of a sudden, we're projecting a B-17 an hour for years out in Willow, stuff like that. So we do that. We compartmentalize and make it, and then we add capitalism to it, and that's fine.
Yes.
With AI, and the more we've been talking over 6 months, I can't believe it's becoming more and more apparent to me and a lot of other people that this is humongously going to change everything down to how, I mean, we'll open up the can of worms, capitalism, all the way down to the roots,
Yeah.
all the way down.
Look, and we talk about that all the time. And
Yeah.
I think that this is one thing that you're going to hear a lot here when you talk with us. This is the end of our current systems. Like what we're seeing is the fact that all of these systems that are not serving us in a way that is meaningful and purposeful we have a way out. We have a way of creating something new. It's a dawn of a new era.
Wow.
And it can be a really exciting space to be if we can get there in the right way.
Yeah, what's interesting? Yes, absolutely, and it's not something that's third party, right? I mean, I think in the old revolutions, you could be doing whatever, or one could be doing their job, whatever it is, and oh yeah, the financial crisis, that's going to impact me, ABC. Oh yeah, there's a new phone out. Okay, that's going to impact me. That we all had our own little islands of impact, I guess, where we're verticals, these silos. It's going to impact. Oh, that doesn't impact me. It impacts people making cars. That doesn't impact. But with what we've seen in just 6 months, 12 months, even 18 months, is this thing permeates every horizontal and every vertical. So it's
Yeah.
everything from how you get your fries at McDonald's to how you drive your car to how the stoplights go on and off, how the elevators work or don't work, all
And
that
those
stuff.
are and those are all technological things. I'm going to say
Yeah,
that it impacts our sociological things too, right? So, the
at
way
the
that you
core.
communicate. Yeah, the way that you communicate, the way that you understand how to create your content. I mean, the biggest thing that I hear people talking about using AI for is creating content, right?
Yeah.
And that is the basic form of communication. And within the last 16 months since ChatGPT came out, we have all improved our ability to be able to communicate effectively, right? That is
Yeah.
that is and that when people talk to me about what humanity is, because I get a lot of this, right? Oh, what are we going to do? We're going to lose our jobs. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. The core thing that makes our humanity worth something for me is the ability to communicate effectively. And this tool has so many different features that can help us do that at so many levels. And right now, most people are using it for the base function of being more effective at basic content creation.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Everything, emails, texts, everything
Yeah,
down to
100%. But it's more effective. And we know that they write better emails. We know that they write, well, the emails, they don't write better core emails yet. They will very soon. But they can make your emails, the ones that you write, just a little bit. Well,
yeah. Now you're
better, kind of a lot
absolutely.
better. But yeah, it does a great job of all I do is dictate my email into ChatGPT, and it does a great job of correcting the spelling and grammar and making it look really good.
Yeah. I mean, and then it's just like anything else. You could make it be whatever as deep as you want. But most people, like you said, they're going to dictate it real quick or whatever on the content generation. And then if you go into different areas where people are getting paid to create content, like writers,
Yeah.
that's another thing. When did they become content creators and not writers? Right. It's so, but that's a whole nother thing. Um, so the level of here's it's funny you bring that up because I just had this conversation. It was last week with the so I write for a magazine in the industry, right? But doing that for almost 4 years, which is crazy. And we being the editors and I, who are quote unquote real writers, right? They went to writing school and all. I just studied it. I didn't. That wasn't my discipline. Um, but we would go back and forth over AI versus organic writing. And this is in the very beginning. And I was like, I'm going to make this. I take an article I wrote 4 years ago. I'm going to make ChatGPT make it sound like Shakespeare wrote it. And boom, 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 there it is. It's like, whoa, wow, that's cool.
That's
Well, let's.
awesome,
I
right?
know. It's like, well, and it was cool. Then I said,
Yeah.
okay. Then they started doing it, all this other stuff where I thought it was really, really cool. What happened was other people started doing the same thing. So something that was unique for 3 weeks,
Yeah.
everyone
Yeah.
was doing. So, all right. So we were talking last week, and I had I'm just not using Chat GPT, and I said this anymore. Rethink is like I did before. That's the key. I still use it, but like I did, I don't. I created personas anyway. So we started talking, and now I think you might, or can you do this? I can recognize it, right? And I think that's because quote unquote content creators are effectively being lazy with the tool. It's like
Yeah.
give it a theme and it brings out 1,500 words, but all those words are empty. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
And
Well, no, I don't even know if it's lazy, Greg. I think it's just uninformed, right? They don't know how to do it
all
better, right?
right, they're
So
uninformed.
I don't want to call people lazy. Like they're content generating, dude. But anyway, but the thing is that so that is the story, right? The story is that we don't know prompt engineering. We're not taking
Well,
the time to learn how to communicate effectively with this. And that is the basic thing. We need to learn how to effectively communicate with this AI. And I want to go back to what you just said about when did writers become content generators? So that's a really interesting comment because I'm going to say this week, every week I come up with something that I talk about. And one of the things that I've been talking about this week is, like 40 years ago, if you were a photographer, right? I mean, basically, you had your camera and your key skill that you had to be great at is what you did in the dark room, right? The dark room was where you did everything. You went in there, you developed your prints, you did whatever you want, and you had to have like pretty good skills to do that. That was not an easy thing to do. And I remember I actually took a photography course where I had to go to the dark room. I sucked at it. But anyway, so what I'm saying is that but then what happened is cameras started to evolve, right? And when cameras started to evolve, a lot more people started to become photographers because the barriers to entry had like become less. And now, I know so many people who are around me that have the opportunity to become photographers and they do a phenomenal job. And so that's the thing. We get these tools. They allow so many more of us to experience that feeling of being an amazing creator. And who doesn't want to be a creator, right? So yeah, you can call writers content generators. I'm going to call content generators. All of them are writers because now all of those things that we were missing during our learning experience, a lot of us didn't learn how to write effectively not because we couldn't write effectively, because we didn't have the teachers or the tools to learn how to write effectively. But when we read content that's generated that's good, we know it's good and it feels good when we come up with something like that. So yeah, absolutely. Like,
wow.
Yeah. So I just think it's kind of really opening your mind to the fact that it's not limiting you, it's expanding so many more of us.
I think what's interesting is take that photography, right? Here's what I've come upon. So you're right. You had to have the dark room. We had to have the really good camera, right? And the expense. There was, you're right. Barrier to entry was bigger than the actual talent. And I know you will find artists, musicians that are on the street and are excellent. And they just didn't get the opportunity because they didn't know, the tools were not available for them to, and by tools, I mean, studios, electronics, and the connections.
Yeah.
What the digital phone did is it allowed everyone. And my contention is, there were great photographers, but there were only a dozen or so, a 20 or so that were at that level.
Yeah.
But the talent was always there.
Yeah.
in, you know, not everyone, but well, yeah, maybe everyone could be and take excellent photos. But they just didn't have the tools. It wasn't as convenient. So now once that level of convenience hits, they can now the whole realm of photography has blown up. Not just
No, and we've been taught, right, through the evolution of art. We've been taught what good pictures look like. We know what they look like.
right.
And so when you know what a good picture looks like and then you take a good picture, that's a very awesome moment for that person. You know, when I have dinner parties, I always ask like the person who's got the best pictures on Facebook to take the pictures at that dinner party. Because why wouldn't I? They're the best photographer. But
Yeah.
you know, the thing is that like, so there is still that skill there, but it's just available to so many more people.
Right. And that's where I think with artificial intelligence and AI and the LLMs and all that stuff, and this is why I rail against regulation still to this day. And we'll talk about it. I had a little experience this morning. Um, that regulation when I say it stifles innovation, it doesn't
Yeah.
at a corporate level, because the corporate
Yeah.
level are the ones who want the regulation. It
Yeah.
stifles it at our level, the
Yeah.
individual level, and not. And here we go, hyperbole.
Yeah.
Never before have we as individuals had the opportunity to really excel individually
Yeah.
at whatever we want. Now that's, you said it earlier, the conversation is being watered down. Well, it's being watered down in my opinion, in one way, because it's just too much. It's like,
Yeah.
so the dude who goes back, he assembles Ford F-150s on the night shift. That isn't what he
Mhm.
wants to do. He's got something going on in the
Yeah.
background that he wants to do. Well, guess what? You can do it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Stamp collecting, write poetry, whatever it is. You can now seriously achieve the level that your natural level of talent is. Now, there may be better, there may be worse. It doesn't even matter. It's like now you get the opportunity to do what you want. So, ergo, unfortunately, you're getting paid to build trucks. That's the systems that are threatened the most.
Yeah.
Again, the hierarchies, the old school, I call it the Taylorism. And that's another thing I don't like the current regulation path is we're trying to fit AI into that pattern of
Yeah.
what it was before, of how we've done things before, and you can't really do that. And what it's also exposing, and we're seeing this more and more, is the hypocrisy of the hierarchies. I work for this company and we're like a family.
Yeah.
No, you're not. You're really not. It's not you're a resource, dude. That's all you are. Here's your
Yeah.
Taco Tuesdays, your casual Fridays, and that's becoming more and more apparent, which also feeds into, well, gee whiz, I just got laid off. What do I want to do with my life? It isn't as difficult as it was 10, 15 years ago when you got laid off. You had to go look for a job for a company. I'm not saying it's easy. This is transformative and it's difficult on all levels. I am saying is that there's more opportunities, or there's a bigger opportunity than there was 10 years ago because of the LLMs and the chat GPTs and all that
And
stuff.
bigger
So that's
risks too. So,
huge.
yeah, so the risks are there too. But I really like the fact that you're bringing up regulation, because regulation is something that I have a lot of conversations around. I am very concerned about it. It is probably the one area where I feel as though most of us need to start understanding what this regulation will mean and how it will evolve into society. I know. So out of all of the regulations, there's three that have come out on the surface, right? So you have the US AI Bill of Rights, and you have the EU AI regulation, and then you have something that the UK came up with.
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't have a problem with the AI Bill of Rights. I really don't. I think it's a very American it's a very American bill. It's got there's lots of space to grow and evolve. Everything that comes out of America is you can take it to a courtroom and you can fight about it. So it's great, right? So there's both sides that you can fill into it. The EU regulation concerns me a lot because there's just a lot of language that's restrictive and a risk and fear mongering and making people feel as though we're going to take care of you. And my concern is that all of these people who are coming out there and saying that we're going to do this, they haven't even had an opportunity to learn what this technology or this tool really is. And right now, before we rush to regulation, we really need to understand what the underlying opportunities and risks are. And they're not like the risks of previous technological interventions, right? This is not a social media platform. Social media was a completely different tool, and it infiltrated in a completely different way, and it was very human driven for the most part until it wasn't, and then we had even bigger problems. But it was humans kind of control that platform. This is an external intelligence that is going to be leading in this innovation. So I think that we definitely need to have a lot more conversation about this.
Yeah, I mean, when the EU thing came out, I tried to go through it. It's kind of a large document too, and it's rushed. It was, to me, it seemed rushed. I was like, guess what?
Yeah.
It took a couple years or whatever. They think that took a long time, but it was rushed. And I guess personally, I have a whole issue with the EU thing, right? For a long time, when Brexit hit, that's when I started looking at, well, what's going on over there? Why is Great Britain
Oh,
wanting to get
really?
out?
I didn't know that. So this is interesting. I want to know what problem you have with the EU. Let's get controversial, Greg.
All right. Well, here's in general or specific. In general.
Oh no.
So what happens is, like, and
We're
I've
gonna
noticed
get
this too.
canceled. No, I'm just kidding.
Here's the EU is not like the United States. And I mean the United States is a collection of individual states, right?
Yeah.
It's a republic. The EU is a bunch of different countries. It's just the way it is. So you've got 13 different languages within 20 miles radius, whatever, and it's really, and it's been around for 2,000 years, and they always throw that in our face, but that's okay. There's just I don't know how to say it, too many. All right, I'll say it, and then we'll sharpen it up. There's too many influences and too many, which is terrible because that's great, but it's not great when you're trying to implement, how much cinnamon goes in a donut in wherever Holland from wherever the EU headquarters is, right? It's like, what the hell is that?
So a lack of cohesiveness, right? That's what you're saying,
Which
right?
is weird. Yeah, it's a lack of cohesiveness, and there's multiple interests that are just crazy. And what I've learned or I've observed is, boy, this is this is gonna sound terrible, but
Then don't say it.
I gotta say it. Europeans, other than our cousins in the UK, love to talk a lot.
Yeah.
About everything. And there's, you got the French emotion. You've got, and again, wow, this is terrible. But who else?
My God,
there's some, they're very. I know. Here we go. But see, that's why I'm torn, because that's what's great about it. It's great. It's not a fault or anything, and it's hardly a judgment. It's more of an observation. My only judgment would be it's excellent. That's the way it is. But gosh darn, it seems so regulatory and so crunched down, and you've got to fill out 60,000. This is we're bureaucratic, I think is the word I'm looking for.
I think that's a good word.
That's probably the better word.
And I think that when you look at the AI regulations that have come out, they kind of align with that bureaucratic system that is going to interject a lot of, forms and regulations and authorizations that are going to lead you down a path that is very difficult to navigate out of. And my concern is always this, that all along, and I just talked to a cybersecurity expert this afternoon, and she was telling me that what is accessible to those people who understand how to enter, the alternative universe of AI technology is mind-blowing. There are AI tools that are available without any parameters set on them. They will do and say whatever you want to, and this is available to anyone all over the planet. And if that's the case, then we need to be having a lot bigger conversations than just being afraid of it. This is a really interesting conversation that needs to take place.
Yeah, and I'm not picking on the EU, but that's that. And then I love what you said about the Bill of Rights, and there's some over here the deep fakes. People are afraid of that, but there's a fear starting up. Our fears, all this, and then I heard, I don't know, someone said something a while back. I think this was when the Taylor Swift thing happened. There was some fakes of her whatever,
Yeah.
and everyone wanted to put regulation together that would quote prevent that.
Hmm.
Well, we have laws already that say if you do stuff that's wrong, you're going to be punished.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, basic, but that, so the laws are already there. That
Yeah.
we just need to implement them against this, whatever that is. So,
Yeah.
but see, and then over here, again, anytime there's some sort of fear or something, we jump on it and try and regulate it. And by we, and it's terrible. What There's a lot of bad, how do we say this? Negative influences within the legislative area of
Yeah.
politics in
Yeah.
general. All right, sweeping, um, by people who don't understand it, which is another thing, right? But see, this is part of, again, back to my original thing. If 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 I could boil it really, really down, if a photocopier, a new photocopier comes out, right,
Yeah.
and it's whiz bang, it does everything, that affects a little niche, right? You're not going to hear Congress talking about this, or the UK talking about this,
Yeah.
or McDonald's, or Walmart, or General Motors, or there's new, that's it. That's
Yeah.
where the difference is today.
Yeah.
Again, go back to that point. It's like we're talking about everything from taking a picture of the inside of your refrigerator and having a machine tell you what you can make based on what it saw,
Yeah.
versus the Supreme Court of the United States deciding some sort of AI issue. I mean, it's there, it's everywhere,
Yeah.
and people are just bananas.
So I make this statement, right? I'm
Right.
like, instead of trying to use your human brain to create regulation in order
Like
to be
that.
able to
Yeah.
stifle what I think is going to stifle innovation, use AI to help you figure it out. Like, it's
Well,
so good, right? I mean, it
that's
really is. I mean, I think that all of our new bills and all of our new documents should be written by AI. I really do. I
well.
think we're
Here,
ready already. And
I gotta
and
tell you
and
this.
that is like, that is a bold statement, I know, but honestly, like, have you seen some of the strategy that this thing can come this comes up with? It's
Oh,
mind blowing.
here's the dirty, dirty sub level beneath the level, so below, fear that they have. So they're all talking about regulating AI. Okay, how would we regulate AI? All right, how can we make that work? Ask AI. All right, hold on. You know what? By the way, let's aim AI at Congress. AI, go figure out where all the spending is.
Yeah,
AI, go figure out what the trends have been, and beyond a smart
yeah,
spreadsheet,
yeah.
right? AI, take all the history of mankind's politics, political structures, economic structures, all that knowledge, all that data, crunch it, and then let's put a magnifying glass on the IRS.
Mhm.
What's wrong with it? What's right with it? That's the secret that they don't want. They
Yeah,
don't want that thing turned on them. When I say
yeah,
they, the powers and the influencers,
yeah.
even IBM, the big corporations. We've got an HR problem. How come we can't get people to come back in the office? Well, let's let AI take a look at your entire structure and come up with an answer. And you're not going to like that answer. It's
But
going to
I don't,
find
honestly,
15.
but I don't know if that's necessarily the case, Greg. I say this to people all the time. I have never met a person. I've never met a Dr. Evil in real life, right?
Oh,
I've never met a person who's going to work and thinking that they are doing something bad or something wrong, right? And you can look at entire institutions and you can look at entire systems, but the people within them, when they go and do something, they believe they're doing something good. They believe that they're doing something meaningful, purposeful. And so, um, I mean, I don't want, hopefully, we will not use AI as a punitive or a judgmental tool. I hope
no.
that we use it as an empowerment
Well,
tool, right?
yeah.
I hope that we can go into the IRS and just go, hey guys, we know that we want to be able to create a better system. We know that the system doesn't work. We've already have all the data and research that says that the majority of the claims are, if we look in and find data points, there's so many human mistakes on it. Let's just go ahead and try and fix this. Let's do it together, and let's, kumbaya this moment. But
Okay. A kumbaya moment. I
yeah,
understand that. Right.
yeah.
That's looking at structure
That's
as to
that's
how
gonna
they're
be
doing
me.
business.
That's gonna be me at the podcast.
All right.
Hopefully,
Well,
well, actually,
okay.
no. Sometimes I'm not kumbaya,
Well,
but
I could be kumbaya,
yeah, exactly.
which is
So
interesting.
Greg is
Yeah.
Greg and I are gonna
Here,
try and give it you both
it's the yin and the
perspective.
yang, as
Yeah,
below, so
exactly.
above.
Yeah.
It's that stuff. Here's what
Mhm.
I was talking about. Yes, we can use it to analyze the system, make the system better. But what we can do is either qualify that the system even needs to exist. That's
Oh,
the challenge.
So I'm an anarchist.
Well, so am I. But
Yeah, I absolutely believe that our
let me
systems
qualify that.
are outdated.
I'm an AI anarchist now.
Yeah.
All right. Now meaning that
I think our current systems have outlived their functionality, and I think it's time for us to be innovative and create something amazingly new.
I like your positivity, and I would say that there are Dr. Evils. I can't believe I'm saying it because I believe everyone has a good intention,
Yeah.
but I've seen
Yeah,
some
I'm going to
things.
say it again. I've never met one.
Well, the court of New York just let one off. He was convicted. They reversed that conviction. There are people, maybe they're just minions. Maybe they're not Dr. Evils. They're just minions that are making billions of dollars out of shrewd and let's see, some tomfoolery and shenanigans in the Congress. I mean, I'm localizing it, but they go in making 80 grand a year and they come out as multi-billionaires. There's math there, I think. So
Yeah.
I say if AI looks at that, it's going to expose everything. It's going to expose all that.
Well, the wonderful thing is that if they use AI for their favor, they can create new math that can validate that.
Oh,
so there you go.
You want to have the new math conversation?
Yeah. New math.
Oh my God.
That's what I want to talk about. That is what I really want to talk about. This math conversation is just so fascinating.
Where did this come? I don't know. I came up this week with someone. They were talking about this, that, and the other, and AI is going to do this. I go, well, what if AI proves math is wrong?
AI is going to prove math is wrong. AI is already proving math is wrong.
It's like, what do you mean, Greg? I got that moment. It's like, oh, geez, here we go. Never mind. So it's like I didn't want to get into 1 + 1 and 1 × 1 and all that in theory, but I said, well, AI is having this. I think you had this conversation.
So let's catch people up, right? So it is important for us to catch people up. So basically, last week, Greg and I had a conversation about how ChatGPT and other LLMs have a very easy time processing languages, right? So you put anything that is language related into ChatGPT, it can go ahead and expand on it. It can understand it. It can translate it into 500 languages, and then it translates it back. And for the most part, it maintains the integrity of the content. And it does not do the same thing with mathematical concepts. Now, when we're talking about mathematical concepts, we're thinking, I'm a former math teacher, so this is something that I'm very interested in. Basically, what the hypothesis now is that the reason why it's having such a hard time with something that should be logical and systematic is because our formulas are flawed and our mathematical concepts are really not as finite and logical or, absolute as we would want to hope that we would want them to be. And then yesterday I was talking to another science professor, and he was saying the same thing. He was saying,
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. We have all of these formulas where if X, Y, Z is this, then this is the outcome. But there's also this exception, and there's always an exception to mathematical formulas, right? That we have to embed into it. And so why would there be an exception, right?
It's not an exact. You're right. There's always an exception.
So this is really, really exciting to me because I can't even imagine what the new math would look like. But when you think about what math has done for the world, the way that it has evolved so far, and how much it has helped us advance, and just the basic formulas that we created, so we can still be proud of ourselves. I'm not dissing.
Yeah.
I'm not dissing old math, but just imagine what those new formulas are going to look like and how amazing a future we could have with updated, working, fully functioning math in our system.
Yeah. Let me see if I understand. So I've heard this before, that math is just I've heard it. Math is just another language. Okay. And
well, it should be. I mean, technically it should be, right?
Okay. Okay. So in order for math to become a language, it has to become more than what it is now.
But it has to have a system of rules that work across the entire system.
Well, now, so we've used math to determine those, right? So when you strike at the core of math, you're striking at everything.
We're striking at E = MC.
I was going to say, it's like,
are you kidding me? Yes, I am. I'm touching that. I'm going there. I should, you know what? I love, this is one of my favorite moments on the Big Bang Theory. If Neil deGrasse Tyson hears this, yeah, boo, I'm questioning.
Well, they did find the red shift. They now again, here we go. I read a headline. No, I read the article, but anyway, they found the difference in the red shift, which measures the amount of time. Blah 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 blah. They found something that occurred before the Big Bang, which is impossible. So that was out 2 or 3 weeks ago, and now I don't know what happened to it after that. But even the possibility of that.
Absolutely. I don't like impossible. Impossible are
I
two
know.
terms that I have never subscribed to.
All right.
And then I'm reminded by the fact that I should never say never. So I might subscribe to them.
Well, then
I haven't up until this point. How's that? Mm-hmm.
well, yeah, but still, if math isn't an absolute, then there are no absolutes. It's like, okay, now what?
Yeah, we could have new numbers. We could have new. Oh my God, I can't even imagine what we're capable of when we expand our intelligence, and that is what makes me so excited about this, and that's what makes me just spend day and night just wanting to completely immerse myself in it because it's too exciting.
It's a fire hydrant. Okay. So this is very conceptual. Let's bring it back down to Mr. Taxi Cab Driver, or I don't know, math teacher, high school math teacher, football coach, soccer coach. Might as well throw that in there. How does it impact them? I mean, what's a new math going to do for them, right? For
So
us?
I
don't know.
Okay, so the new math for I don't know. Okay, so I can only see so far, right? I can see that that's a possibility, but we can't really see beyond that. We can't really see how we're going to apply that math. And I'm sure that people who are far more advanced in mathematics than I am just a lowly math teacher. I am not a math professor. So the thing is that I'm sure that people with higher level mathematical understanding will probably add to this conversation and provide maybe more applications.
Maybe.
But I don't know. I really don't
I got it. Well, we just
I think ask my AI, but my AI is not going to
ask your AI.
Understand our math. So
well, I would say that if you, I mean, current math experts have been trained in the old math, so anything they say is going to be, I love this word, biased towards the old way. I mean, how long did it take before the sun no longer rotated around the Earth?
Yeah,
I don't know. And now we're talking about something that's even bigger than that. Where are they at? Boy, great. Now I got something to think about this weekend. There's nothing absolute. Oh man, see,
but AI. So all of those people that you mentioned, the coach and the teacher and all the people, like they could be the ones that actually discover what they can do with this new math, right? They have the capability of now creating.
They will be the ones.
Yes,
they will be. That's
I love it. You're right, Greg. They will be. Yes, they will be. Innovation is now open to everyone. We all get to play this game.
Yeah, it's so I don't know much about Wikipedia, but isn't that a end user supplied database of some sort, right? I mean, people.
So I used to share this. So in the beginning, when the AI first started, people started using them. They would turn around and they would talk about all the flaws that are within it and how the system is broken and how it hallucinates and sometimes the information is incorrect. And this was in probably November of 2022, December of 2022, maybe. And I would always give them the example of Wikipedia, right? That's the way systems evolve. Like Wikipedia in the beginning, when we first started using it, would have so many flaws in it. You would go in and you'd be like, yeah, I didn't know that this person was dating that person or whatever it was. And there was so many things that you could question. But as the system evolved, like it perfected itself. And now most people that I would talk to will say that Wikipedia is a very reliable source of information.
Really?
Yeah. And so, that's how systems evolve.
Wow.
And I would say this at that time too, ChatGPT will do that. And 16 months later, I'm sorry, there are very few people who come around to me and say, yeah, what the information is giving me is not correct.
Yes. Interesting. So
I personally did not have many. I don't even remember incidences where it wasn't correct. I would ask the wrong question a lot of times.
That's
And then
usually
I
it.
would get information and I would realize that I've asked the wrong question. So I would reiterate my question and then I would get the right response. But
Yeah.
I didn't have instances where it hallucinated or gave me stuff that was completely out of context.
I did early on, and
Mhm.
it was my fault. Well, I shouldn't say it was my responsibility to hand, and it was a prompting issue, and it was a
Yeah.
check the source issue. And there were plenty of times when I would ask for information, quotes, blah blah blah, whatever, and it would come back with a quote from a scientist that was never there, never happened, never. But that's because that's what I asked for. I
Yeah.
asked for a quote.
Yeah.
I didn't ask for a real live substantive quote with its source,
Yeah.
right? That's so, and then that did give the LLMs. This is a long time ago.
Yeah.
But so it ideally, oh this ideally it should return whatever your prompt initiates. That's a good and a bad, right? If your prompt is bad, and then that makes us think more like Socrates. We have to ask right questions, right? And that's this all rolls into education. It's like
It's
I
right.
don't need to know that you understand 2 + 2 = 4. I want to know how you got to that understanding, right?
100%.
Okay. So speaking of perplexity, have you used, is that correct? Perplexity. That's the right
Yeah.
word, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've had a
Um,
couple, I've used it a couple of times, but I know a lot of people that are huge fans of it.
well, let me tell you. So
Mhm.
perplexity to me, and only if 3 days worth of using it, right? It's a search engine that is pretty good. It
Yeah.
answers your question
Yeah.
and then cites sources above it. So at first, oh, this is pretty good. And then right now, the business model is, I think when you subscribe, you get access to GPT-4. So you do get an LLM. Dolly might be rolled in there somewhere. So you do get a what I think is a good search engine, right? It just doesn't bring back your hits. It generates content based on your question. All
Yeah.
right. So I mean, I was loving it. Go, oh, this is much better than Google because right now there are no blue links. There's no sponsored response, which is fine. Right? We're getting clean responses. The AI generated answer was good, decent, actually pretty good, on and on. And then so I was beginning to like it. So what I've done with ChatGPT, since they allowed it to generate images, is I would feed in it content. And say, hey, listen, create me an image based on this content. If I wrote a newsletter or whatever it was, right, and it would, in the style of blah 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 blah, and out would come a pretty cool picture, and I didn't invest that much time in it. I'd post it. It goes, yeah. No one knows that it's built on the content. I know that doesn't matter. It matters to me. So I did the same thing with perplexity. In one of the articles in the newsletter, it was like 2 or 3 paragraphs of how AI is going to replace 90% or whatever it was, and it was an exaggeration statement of salespeople, right? That was the content. And then there was something about robots, blah, blah, blah. It came back and says, no, I can't create an image. I posted all, I mean, I was pretty ticked off because I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I apologize. I can't create this images that talks about AI removing jobs. I was like dumbfounded. Are you, really? Really? So I hit it again. It says, what do you mean? This is, baloney. And it came back with the exact same prompt. I apologize, blah, 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 blah. So to me, that is a guardrail. That is a restriction. And I think the response also used, I can't, it expressed feelings.
Did you respond to that prompt with an explanation of how what you're asking for is not
No,
unethical?
no.
So try that next time.
Well, the issue is another LLM did it. All right. So, and no, I'm not going to try it. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to use perplexity. That's it.
Got it. Okay.
One misfire, because it is the tip of the iceberg. If it does that with that, then before I know it, it's going to have black Nazis as a picture, like Gemini did, which is ridiculous. But that tells me that there's someone in a back room somewhere implementing their personal bias on my queries. Now, I
Yeah.
understand we want to like protect everyone from everything, but come on, I don't want that.
So I have a different opinion about this, but I absolutely appreciate, Greg, that you bring this up because this is a real concern with a lot of people,
I
right?
don't know what
And
the
I
answer is.
think that it's a great opportunity to discuss it. And I think that as we move forward, hopefully we will have more LLMs coming up that will address these kind of freedom of speech conversations, because absolutely we should be able to have freedom of speech within the context of that. Unfortunately, what I will say about that is, from my experience, that our search engines and our platforms have, taken elements of that out for a long time. So those algorithms are already in place in lots of different features already. And since we didn't question them, we just kind of accepted them. We've just moved forward with that. So yeah, I think it's really important to question this. And I really appreciate you bringing it up, because at the end of the day, we want to have a capability to access AI in a way that's meaningful and doesn't stifle what we're trying to do.
Yeah, to me personally, I said earlier that I don't know what the answer is, but I kind of have an inkling that the answer is your own personal AI, right? Contained, that
I love that. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
eventually that's what's going to happen, right? And we're going
So
to
I
be
can
able to
take
have,
all the regulations off. I can
yeah,
create my own regulations. Now, what I
yeah,
do with it internally between me and the screen
yeah.
is mine. But the second it's released into the world, and then it has, impact, whether that's negative, whatever, then I become responsible for that. Right. So if I incite riots based on something that AI generated, it's me. It's not the AI. Right. It's me using the axe to chop down the tree. It's me using the
Unless
tool.
unless they become sentient, and then at that point,
Well,
I
then
mean, I don't know. But anyway,
the
yeah.
machine will tell me what to say.
Yeah, exactly. The machine will go like, seriously, sit down, Greg. I got this. But anyway, but
Well, hey, that brings us. I saw an article the other day about a psychologist or
yeah,
someone in that realm. They're getting upset
yeah,
because, um, you know, they're getting upset because people are using it to self therapy, whatever, which
100%.
I think is great. But they're well,
Yes.
you know, it's so classic. The establishment says, "Well, you can't trust what the LLM says." And it's like, "Well, I can't usually trust what you say, so I think we're even."
And Greg and I have had this conversation many times. So
Yeah,
I,
I
yeah.
think that's one of the best
and,
examples of
and
what
like
it can
I
do.
said, right? Like I said, it's just like absolutely. So for me personally, I use my AI the most for this function, to
Mm-hmm.
be able to help me process even the smallest things that I deal with. Because I lived in America most of my life, and because I lived in America, I am somebody who has gone through therapy, has understood the processes, and did everything that is necessary very much that way.
Because you
But
lived in
anyway,
America, you had to
so,
go to therapy.
so I love it. I love it. But I really do believe that this is just the next level that we were waiting for. One of the biggest things that happens is the accessibility to therapy, right? The accessibility to have a place to process what you're going through at a time when you need it, right? So if you're going
At a
through a
time.
crisis,
Yeah.
this is my biggest thing. If you're going through a crisis and then you have to wait for 3 days to see your therapist, by the time you get to your therapist, that crisis is not what it used to be. And so this is immediate. And then I shared this with you, and I am going to share this with the audience because I love it. It's one of my favorite stories. I went to a conference, an inclusivity and diversity conference. And when I was in that conference, I got triggered by something that they were saying, right? When you are a minority, there are things that trigger you. So I got triggered during that conference. And I started having heart palpitations, and I started feeling really uncomfortable. And honestly, I just wanted to get up and leave. But I had my AI with me, and I went and put it through. I put it through ChatGPT. I told it. I typed it as I was sitting there, and I said, I'm at this inclusivity diversity conference, and I've been triggered by something. And can you help me process this trigger? And it turned around and it gave me this entire list of things that I should do, go and leave the room, do mindfulness practices and all these things. And I turned around and I said to it, I said, you know what? I'm sitting here in a room, and I don't want to go out right now. Can you just help me process it while I'm sitting in this chair? And it was like, okay, yeah, sure. I'll help you do that. And it walked me through a series of 5 grounding exercises. And by the time I got to the last grounding exercise, and it probably took about 7 minutes to go through what it was walking me through, I was completely baseline, felt amazing, didn't even feel as though I had been triggered or anything. And that, my friends, is the power of AI and its capability to help you deal and process with whatever you are going through. Mhm.
Yeah, I love that example. And
Yeah.
so you extend that out to whatever, waking up in the morning and you've got issues, and you can, access your again back to your specific personalized AI, right?
Mhm.
It's going to know you and it's yours. It's contained on your particular whatever that is. I don't know what that is yet. Soon.
Mhm.
But that's yours. And now you can take that out into life. But think about all the I mean, you have. It's like all the that's a stressful instance. But what about other people on the spectrum? Other
Absolutely.
challenges that are
Absolutely.
faced daily
Absolutely.
that can be addressed daily.
That
Hmm.
most mental health facilities are not even equipped to deal with, right?
Oh,
We
then
do
there's that.
not, we deal very surface level with very surface people. And honestly, we are in a mental health crisis.
Oh,
Everybody knows that. And there is not a person who is out there who will turn around and say that we are not in one. And so what an amazing opportunity to rise up and give people access to something that can help them not only manage their mental health but also help to evolve it, help
right.
to educate them, help them to understand how to live with better critical thinking skills, to be more emotionally intelligent, to be able to live their life with leadership. Like these are the three core skills that we're going to need in our future. And AI has the capability of teaching you that right now. Like
Right.
today. No iterations. No, let's wait until 2027. We can do it today.
Well, that's now you're touching into how the education system works in general, right? At least over here, whenever whenever something is initiated in the education system, you don't know the impact for 2 or 3 years. And what I've always said, well, now we've got a whole new set of kids in here. We're going to try this experiment on this generation, that kind of stuff. But that's a whole can of worms. But I like earlier I was trying to, all right, so what can a person use specifically every day from AI? And that's a great example, right? I mean, that's probably one of the more specific ones. You get the access to every single, and totally speaking out of I don't know anything about this, that side of the world. But I imagine you get access to every single therapist, the best ones, the worst ones, the theories, the practices, the end results, the impacts, the ROIs, everything in your AI that's designed for you. So you have, and it's up to date access. Oh, wow.
Do you know what's amazing? This is just something that occurred to
Oh,
me right now. Like when you were talking about it, I was like, okay, you know what's amazing? You can turn around and tell them that their advice sucks. Like
yeah.
you can't turn around and say that to a real therapist. You can turn around and say, this is not going to work for me. Like, why would you say this stuff to me? This is rubbish. And the AI will turn around and go, oh, okay, let me go ahead and figure out another thing for you. And so it's kind of
Oh
awesome.
my God. So you'll have people arguing with well, of course, yeah,
I argue with
arguing,
my AI all the time.
but the AI is evolving. That's what's cool
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
Oh, wow. So yeah, that was my experience this morning with Perplexity, and it's the second something happened weeks ago with Chat GPT. Same basic thing. I'm sorry, I can't. Gave me the old HAL 9000. I'm sorry, Dave, I can't open the door right now. Well, all right, I don't want your door anyway. So, starting to see
See, and
more and
I'm the
more of that.
opposite. And I'm the
I know.
opposite. I ain't giving up on this, right? It's there's I am planning on I'm full tilt into the
I
AI
get it.
function.
I
Mhm.
understand.
Yeah.
But this and I'll do the same, and I've done the same, but I've done it before. It's like, okay, once I make a step into that, I'm just playing their game. Now I know this is
Whose
idealistic.
game?
I know. Their game. I'm not playing their game. Give me another one.
it's
Give me
like
another
it's like
one.
we create these games ourselves and we start playing them. I don't
I
know
know.
whose
I'll
game.
probably start using Perplexity on Monday.
Yeah, precisely.
uh, my,
When Perplexity gets integrated into our StreamYard.com platform and we have to use it, what you can do?
I know. They're forcing me. I don't like it. That's stupid. Hey, everything was fine until he said no.
AI can help you with that. It
You're
can
right.
help you process. It can help you
Oh my
process
God.
your
It's not
trauma.
them. It's me.
Yes.
It's my I was triggered, therefore I responded. I need to
Yes.
analyze why I
Yeah.
responded and what triggered
Let's
me.
analyze that. Let's go through it. Let's see why you think you feel that way.
I can tell you why.
Is there a deeper issue that we need to
Oh
talk about?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
deep. It's deep. But I'll analyze that on my own.
Yeah. Do it on your own, but do it with ChatGPT. It's all good.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Hey, so here's another thing. Are you seeing a lot? or what have you run into on in terms of robots and
Well,
androids? Have you what's
oh
it?
my God.
Because
Well,
over
obviously,
here,
so I was at NVIDIA, right?
right?
Yeah.
Okay,
And
yeah,
so
so go ahead.
obviously at NVIDIA, there was just a smorgasbord of robots all over the place. And Jensen Huang did his entire, like his keynote speech was like the ending, was just about
Hmm.
the robots coming into play. And then he brought out those cute little two robots, and they were adorable. So yeah, absolutely. Robots. I
I
am
love it.
I'm kind of in love with. I can't wait. I can't wait to get my robot.
You may not have to wait that much longer
I
because
agree.
Musk said next year his is going to be ready.
Yes, love it. I'm so excited.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've been seeing a lot on robotics now, and that ever since they mixed ChatGPT with I forget who's some robot, right? And it picked up it. The guy says, "Give me something to. I'm hungry. Do you have anything to eat?" It picked up an apple, not the plate, so it knew it did all that crap on its own. Atlas, remember it's Boston something robotics or whatever. They had this,
Boston Consulting. Yeah,
yeah,
Boston. Yeah, Dynamics.
whatever
Boston
dynamics, yeah.
Dynamics. Yes,
So they had
exactly.
a robot that was doing
Yeah,
flips and all this stuff. Well,
yeah.
they retired that one. So yeah, man, here's a new one. They're going, oh my God, you're kidding me. I mean,
Do you know how many people come from Boston Dynamics Institute, like conventions, or where they're doing their demos, and they're just terrified. Like they
they
are
should. Well,
absolutely terrified. Yeah,
well,
I
let
get
me tell you
so
about this. I ran into an article and I posted it on a robot dog with a flamethrower. Now, what could possibly go wrong with a robot dog and a flamethrower? Well, they put a laser on it, so it's a laser guided flamethrower. That means it won't miss.
that is amazing.
And it looks like a
Somebody
dog.
said that. No, somebody said that to me the other day. I was having a conversation and they were talking, and I talk about um, um, AI taking over everything and us being totally fine with it. And they were saying to me, they were like, "Yeah, but can you imagine supporting a football team where all of them are robots?" And I was like, "Yeah, I actually
Wait a
can."
minute.
I mean, I could be on board for that. And the awesome thing about it is, like, we already have these robot competitions where robots go and fight each other, like, and all of that stuff. So yeah,
Oh my
can you
gosh. What
imagine?
movie was
Well, you've
that?
seen the videos of those robots that are playing soccer already.
It leaves me speechless. The stuff that's coming out every week on a robot, and that even the word robot sounds old fashioned
Yeah,
because it's not Robbie or the B-12 from
no,
Lost in Space. These are like they're androids, but even that's starting to sound a little cliche and trivial. But so artificial humans next, I don't know. But you said so. There's this old movie, Real Steel, I think is the name of the movie, where Wolverine, the dude who plays Wolverine, is in there, and they robot box, right? There's boxing robots like Rock'em Sock'em.
yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
god, people know that. That's cool. So that it was a clever little kids movie. I watched it, whatever. Which wow, we're segueing into movies now. So I've come.
You always do. You always educate me with your movies. Yeah,
Well, listen
yeah,
to this craziness. I went back and I looked at a bunch because this robot thing got me thinking. I go, man, this sounds familiar. And then when I got faced by some GPT. Okay, that's Hal. So I went back to all these movies with robots and stuff. 1959, I believe. There's a movie called Forbidden Planet. All right, now it isn't campy. It seems like it would be a cheap, chintzy little old fashioned, which in some ways it is. You can't
yeah,
see the strings, but let me put the premise is that mankind is evolved beyond. We now fly the flying saucers, and this flying saucer mankind made ship flies to a planet forbidden, where this mad scientist and his lovely daughter have lived in this robot. Now, onward and onward and onward it goes. They've discovered the civilization that enhanced their mental power
yeah,
by this super machine that is underground, but is in the whole planet. That's so big that it's underground underneath the whole planet. The
yeah.
civilization is gone, but these machines are left behind.
Okay.
On and on and on and on. They get into the id, the ID of the mind, because this professor obviously wants to be the smartest man in the universe. So he plugs
Yeah,
into the machine. The machine grabs his whatever and grabs onto the id, the negative stuff, and all the computing power of that planet is put into that, and it blah 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 attacks the ship. Well, there's a robot, all right, and there's a small little moment in the movie where the professor says, "Here's this id monster." Says, "Robbie, destroy that monster," and the robot goes to do it, but the robot effectively commits suicide because the robot recognized that the id was his professor. So, and his number one rule is you can't harm the professor. So when he's trying to,
Yeah.
well, that was mind blowing for another reason, because that's what happened in 2001: A Space Odyssey. The computer went bananas because we told it to do something it was told not to do. Anyway, so
Yeah.
you fast forward, and this was like
And
maybe
you
half a dozen of
and
these
you
things.
are already experiencing that on multiple levels. It's
Right.
going bananas because you're making it do stuff it's not designed to do, Greg.
All right. Well, it never ends well. Let me put it to you that way.
It will end well. We got
Yeah.
this, right? We got this.
Right.
So we
Well,
take it, we take it one day at a time.
one
We
day
take
at a
a deep
time.
breath.
So I
We
put
take
a
a deep
collection
breath.
of all
We
these
focus,
movies together.
we focus on the amazement and the
That's what I'm
possibility, and absolutely we pay attention to the things that we should be concerned about. But I really do feel as though this is a wonderful, in my lifetime. I
Oh, no.
never, yeah, I never believed that anything like this could ever have happened in my lifetime. And the fact that it is happening in my lifetime just makes me so grateful and so excited. And it makes me like not really need to sleep that much anymore. I really don't. I
Who
love
needs
it.
sleep? Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think, well, one little comment on the so as above, so below. There's a balance. Math hasn't disproven the balance in the universe. There is a balance, and everything's connected. So the more I see the negative, quote unquote, the negative stuff, I believe that there's just as much positive. So if you think that the world will end and be terminated through AI, then you've got to believe that, well, it can be 10 times or 1,000 times better, right?
Mhm.
It has the balance. There's no, childhood's end here. It has the balance, so whatever that is. But anyway, yeah. So that was
So
my little
in
movie.
my mind is screaming right now and going, but we might be balanced within the system, but we might not be balanced outside of the system.
Well, yeah.
And that might be our purpose, right? We don't know. Maybe we need to be balanced outside the system. So I don't know.
Maybe we need
Anything
a
is
different
possible.
definition of balance.
Yeah, precisely. So let's see what this does. I want to live for
All
it.
right.
It's gonna be
Very
so
good.
good.
All right, young miss, what are you doing this weekend?
Absolutely nothing. Honestly,
Oh,
I have so many speaking engagements coming up in the next few weeks, and I just really need to prepare for them and make sure that I present the material in a way that does justice to the material. So that is going to be my weekend, catching up on presentations and hopefully some work assignments.
cool. All right.
What
Well,
about you? What about you? What are you doing?
oh, well, it's going to be warm here, 86 degrees and sunny. So, yeah, I know.
What? Oh, that is not chill.
So I'll be outdoors doing something, maybe opening
Yeah.
up the pool, maybe not. But I will definitely hit the trails on my little bicycle and check
Yeah,
that
you're gonna
out.
have to translate that 86 next time. When you give me 86, you're gonna have to give me the Celsius too, because people here don't. I give them. I actually don't know how to do the transfer. I should. I know the mathematical equation, but I don't know. We need to
Don't
define
get me
both
going.
Celsius and Fahrenheit.
I'll leave that up to you Celsius heads. All right. No, I'll be open and on it, and diverse and do that. We'll do both. And then when we invent a third one, we'll do Kelvin.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, hey, I say we exit. What do you think? End the
I
stream
say
and
we do.
move
I
forward.
think this was a wonderful inaugural episode. I am so grateful that we're doing this. Hopefully, we'll put it out there. Hopefully, some people will listen to it, and hopefully, they will give us some feedback. And they won't shut us down. Please don't shut us down yet. We're learning. We're all growing here.
Yeah,
and
it's an evolution.
Yeah, and we want to do something good with this. We want to be your guides to this AI journey, and we want to hopefully make people understand that this is not a drill. This is real, and before you know it, you are going to be AI integrated.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll talk next week. See you, everyone.
Bye, everyone, and bye, Greg.